Right now at 6, a KGW investigation grows as a tiny home dream turns into a six-figure loss for more families.
Where are these agencies that are supposed to protect us as consumers?
Plus,
I don't understand why they're closing overnight shelters.
the proposal that could leave hundreds of people without a place to go. Then, a federal judge steps in on salmon protections, what it could mean for the fish and your power bill. Also, the new affordable homes helping return a piece of Portland history.
Now we have the opportunity to restore something that was lost to the Black community.
But first, to a KGW investigation update. Customers of a Portland tiny home company say they paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for homes that they never received. Now, they want the state to look into it. Thanks for joining us. I'm Christine Pitawanich. We first exposed frustrations with Tiny Heirloom last year. The company is the target of dozens of lawsuits and complaints. Reporter Evan Watson following up tonight. So Evan, what happened after your initial report on all this?
Yeah, well, Christine, after we showed that first story in December, I quickly realized that this is bigger than the paper trail shows. More and more customers started reaching out to me, messaging and calling me, saying they too were out huge amounts of money. One of Tiny Heirloom's owners insists that the company knows that it messed up and it's working hard to fix it and provide homes or payments to everyone. But are these complaints enough for a state investigation?
It's been a nightmare for us.
Keith Krenz and his wife Tony signed a contract with Tiny Heirloom in August of 2023, dreaming about the renderings of a new tiny home along the Oregon coast. So they waited and waited.
The longer it went on and the wilder the excuses got and the more excuses there were.
After 2 years of missed construction and delivery deadlines, they got a lawyer involved.
They have all $142,300 of that build.
Krenz says Tiny Heirloom owner Jeremy Killian admitted to spending their home payment elsewhere.
On that video call, he told us that he used our money to pay his bills. What bills, we don't know, but they were playing catch up. They were having financial issues. They were trying to right their ship.
A practice Killian denied in a November interview with KGW.
No, I don't take down payments on new homes just to finish the builds from the past. I use the profit margins from it.
Tiny Heirloom, the Portland-based manufacturer of luxury tiny homes, faces dozens of lawsuits and complaints from people who say the company took their money and failed to deliver. One judge ruled the company committed financial elder abuse by taking $160,000 and never building a woman her home. Killian and his co-owner Ryan Donato owe hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes, according to the Oregon Department of Revenue. And a lender claims the company has repeatedly failed to repay a $1 million loan. When added all together, Krenz has serious questions for state watchdogs.
Where are these agencies that are supposed to protect us as consumers? Department of Justice, Oregon, come help us. They shouldn't be allowed to continue operating, doing this to people.
KGW asked the DOJ if it is investigating Tiny Heirloom. The agency declined to answer. The DOJ denied a records request for communications about Tiny Heirloom using an exemption that cites current or potential litigation. Killian says the company is giving refunds, paying settlements, or delivering homes to every customer affected by his company's missed deadlines and financial problems.
We have always, regardless of the highs and lows, done the right thing.
In November, he acknowledged that customers are angry.
And that's rightfully so. If it was me and I was in their shoes, I would be upset too.
And promised quick resolutions.
And you believe by early next year you'll...
I know for a fact we will be, 100%. And we're making a wrong a right.
In an updated statement, Killian says Tiny Heirloom is actively working to resolve all remaining builds and settlements, and completing everything by the end of March remains achievable. Catherine Hicks is hoping that's true.
And I don't know at what point in the last 3 years it's turned into feeling like I'm being taken advantage of. I don't know when that switch hit for me, but it's definitely hit.
She paid nearly $200,000 up front and hasn't received anything for 3 years. Hicks said she saw KGW's first report and realized she's been too lenient and understanding.
It was just crazy. And so I think knowing that you're not alone is both a blessing and a curse, because you realize, oh, you're not alone. I'm not the only one struggling with this, but oh, you're not alone. He's done this to other people. Yeah, it's wild.
Other people, like Tanya Barrett, who filed a lawsuit on February 19th, demanding the return of the $250,000 she's paid without a home to show for it. Hicks is still waiting for Tiny Heirloom to deliver her custom build.
So originally I asked for my money back and he was willing to pay me back over 4 years, $197,000 over 4 years. I'm like, no, I'm not funding your poor business decisions.
Krenz said Tiny Heirloom offered a similar deal. He and his wife didn't trust it.
In going online and doing our own research, we saw people that opted for that other route and received a few payments, and then the payments stopped. So they weren't getting their money. So what are we going to do? Completely cancel it and rely on them to give us monthly payments? No, absolutely not.
Instead, Krenz worked with his lawyer to demand the delivery of their partially built home. It arrived last week, half built. He's planning to finish the rest of the job himself.
We're ready to close this chapter. We want to put it in our rearview mirror.
Wow, what an investigation. I'm curious, though, at this point, do we know exactly how many people are waiting on either homes or settlement payments from Tiny Heirloom?
Yeah, well, ultimately, it is really tough to say. I know of at least 7 complaints to the Department of Justice, another dozen or so in lawsuits, and ultimately, some of those have been resolved, as you saw in that story, but there are many more people who are reaching out to me saying that either they don't have the resources to file a lawsuit or they haven't submitted a formal complaint, so that exact number is kind of hard to say at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, what evidence do we have that this company is going to stick around and sort everything out with its customers? Sure,
it's a good question. One of the co-owners, Jeremy Killen, you saw in that piece, promises that he's doing everything he can to make this right, and they are working on delivering payments and builds and working through all of these issues. And also you saw that some compromises have been made and some solutions have been found, with Keith Krenz there, for example, receiving that partially built home. But one of the customers, many of the customers have asked me, hey, we've heard rumors about this company moving to Texas. And I looked up and found business licenses in other states. So I asked them about that, and they said, hey, just because we have licenses, that's part of doing business nationally. Doesn't mean that we're relocating anywhere. And also he answered that no matter what, even if we do relocate, they're still going to withhold and fulfill their obligations, but didn't exactly clarify if they're planning to leave Portland or otherwise. So there are still questions there, things to track in the months ahead.
Yeah, I really appreciate you digging into the initial report, but then also following up with these additional people. Appreciate your reporting, Evan.
You got it.
Okay, let's take a step outside now. Whoa, for a look from our Vancouver Skycam. This is live, and no, not a painting. Look at those gorgeous colors. Talk about a beautiful sunset. I don't really want to get to Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino quite yet, but hey, it's in the background behind you, Matt, so that's good enough. So excited to have these gorgeous days.
I take no offense to that at all, Christine. It is a beautiful scene, and I'm time-lapsing this, so we'll have that time-lapse of this amazing sunset for you on the later newscast. But this is from our camera at the Springs at the waterfront in Vancouver, looking across the Columbia. That is the railroad bridge, of course, that comes from Washington into Oregon, then the West Hills in Forest Park, and just a really great display with those scattered high clouds putting on a show. It is 51 degrees right now in Portland, and a little bit of light left to the southwest from our Seaside Skycam. If we go any farther left, we just run into trees and land. But as we go through the rest of winter and into spring, the sun, of course, will be setting farther and farther north, and so it will come into view, and we'll get some good sunsets from this camera too in the weeks and months ahead. Today's high was 54 here and in Vancouver, which is actually above average for the first time in quite a while here in the metro area. Had a 60 down in Brookings, 57 in Bend, 55 up in LeGrand. So tomorrow, very much like today. Fog, frost in the morning. We had a patch of fog this morning up around Vancouver, across the Columbia towards Scappoose. I don't think it'll be any more extensive tomorrow morning. We'll drop to 33, but if you live away from the cities, you'll drop below 32, and that's where the frost will come into play. Even at 33 or 34, you can get frost. Then we climb to 55 with more sunshine, Christine. And the weekend looks dry as well. We'll talk about the return of mountain snow. That's in the forecast too. A little later. Back to you.
I guess I don't mind you calling me the wrong name since you have sunshine in the forecast.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt. In your headlines, Metro Police in Washington, D.C. have declined to charge the husband of Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer with sexual assault. You can see Dr. Sean DeRemer sitting behind his wife during her confirmation hearing last year. A spokesperson for the department says it conducted a review of evidence with the United States Attorney's Office and determined there was no evidence of a crime. The New York Times first broke the story about Dr. Sean DeRemer, who is listed as an anesthesiologist in Portland. KGW also obtained a police report that lists the Department of Labor as the location of a sex abuse accusation. But again, evidence has cleared DeReamer of any criminal wrongdoing. Now to an update on what investigators are calling a domestic violence incident involving a rideshare driver. And as you can see, all of it caught on camera. Vancouver police say they have arrested the man accused of ramming a rideshare car with his wife as a passenger multiple times in mid-November. Officers were called to check on a suspicious situation near West 35th and Kaufman Avenue last night. That's where they found a man named K. Lodge lying on the ground. After a health check, he went to jail on multiple charges, including assault as well as hit and run. To Clackamas County now, where health officials have identified another site where people may have been exposed to measles. The specifics are here on your screen. The Oregon Health Authority says the exposure happened in the emergency department waiting room at Providence Willamette Falls Medical Center between 9:57 p.m. Wednesday, February 25th, that is last night, and 12:22 a.m. this morning. So if you were there during that time period, contact a healthcare provider and let them know that you may have been exposed to someone with the measles. To North Portland tonight, where construction on new affordable homes is officially moving forward. John Adams joins us live now. John, supporters say this is more than just another housing project.
Christine, that's exactly right. Developers broke ground on 20 townhomes in the lot behind me earlier today, and they say this is more than just putting a roof over someone's head. It's about righting a wrong decades in the making. A scoop of dirt, the first step in a comeback story for this block in North Portland.
This used to be a thriving Black community epicenter.
That community torn apart in the 1970s when this land near North Williams and Russell was purchased by Legacy Hospital for a future expansion. An expansion that never happened.
This area sat vacant for 50 years, and now we have the opportunity to restore something that was lost to the Black community.
Williams and Russell CDC is leading the $16.4 million redevelopment project with input from Black community members. The group broke ground Thursday morning on 20 townhomes that will be built on the site.
So they're going to be between 1,200 and 1,800 square feet, so they're going to be the size of a house.
Homes that are planned to be sold under market value and with down payment assistance to people with historical ties to the area.
Buyers should be able to get a good amount of built-in equity in these homes.
With the goal of not only addressing a glaring need in the area, but righting a historical wrong.
Not only are we having a housing crisis within the United States, but in Portland, we're really wanting to focus on bringing displaced people back.
The developers say the townhomes will be ready to move into in 1 year. Definitely a different look than what this lot has looked like over the past 5 decades. Back to you.
John Adams live for us from North Portland. Thank you for your reporting, John. Well, it's been over 40 years since voters elected a Republican governor. As we get closer to the May primary and with an already crowded Republican pool, this week on Straight Talk, we're taking a closer look at the legacy of the state's last Republican governor, Vic Atiyeh. Atiyeh personally asked political analyst and author Jim Moore to tell his story and gave him full access to his archive to do it. The result is Moore's new book. It's called Atiyeh, Governor Vic Atiyeh and the Transformation of Oregon. Moore says what he found still resonates today.
So when I was doing the book, it eventually occurred to me, you know, people still move to Oregon to live in Tom McCall, famous Tom McCall, who used to be at KGW. They used to move here to live in his state, the beach bill, bottle returns, that kind of thing. But they work in Vic Atiyeh's economy.
Moore breaks down how Atiyeh won in a blue state and what lessons his time in office holds for today's race for governor. That's tonight at 7 on Straight Talk.